Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200.
Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Merrill Hutchinson, president of Rock Solid Families, and co-hosting with my lovely bride, Miss Linda Hutchinson. Hello, Linda. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm dragging.
If you are just tuning in to Rock Solid Radio and you've not been listening to our saga of all of our remodeling projects,
Go.
Poor guy.
Go.
You were like under the gun. You've got like to pick up vanities before they take them back. You got to paint before the carpet comes.
Everything.
Like you got work to do.
All of a sudden, the calendar got booked with all of these scheduling deadlines. Like, okay, the carpet's coming in at this time, so we have to have this finished, and we have to have this in, and then we were waiting for some vanity stuff. So, and it's all coming to crash this week. So,
God love you.
I hope it comes together.
And I feel so bad because all I've done is
painted a board.
I painted a board today. That was my job, and I feel so bad. But I just want to thank you, honey, because you have been a rock star. And man, you got in your groove today. You had the Johnny Cash Spotify station out. You're back there singing old Johnny Cash.
I just have to tell you, I don't know something about Johnny. He's got a good combination of blues.
Yeah.
Have you ever really listened to his stories?
You said you were kind of like crying one day with one of the songs.
He tells stories like nobody else.
Music.
And so a lot of people think that, he's just an old country western guy. But if you actually listen to his music, the stories he tells in those are really awesome.
I'm not sure that's part of our program today, but
it's not?
It actually got you all the way through the basement. You literally listened to Johnny Cash for 3 months while you remodeled our basement. But anyway, honey, you have been such a big help. And speaking of help,
we're going to get it done.
Yeah, speaking of help, it has been so exciting and fun to listen to folks who have been listening to our program. And if that's you that listens week after week, one husband literally just told me today, I think my wife listens to you every day. And I'm like, well, I hate to bring it to you, but we only put a program out every week. So thank you for those that just listen to us.
Well, she's got 160 plus that she's got to catch up on. So
that's true.
She's binging probably.
And if you're new to Rock Solid Radio, we really encourage you to subscribe and like our show and share our shows. And that's how we get the message out. And so if you're one of those folks that do that and talk about our program and share our show, we thank you for that. But today's show is a little different, hon.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking about marriage and we've been talking about parenting, and I know that's really practical help for those out there listening. But man, we really want to be a help for you personally, whether you're married, whether you're a husband, wife, son, daughter, mom or dad. So we're here to help you with your own personal growth. So tell them a little bit about what that looks like, hon.
Well, I think a lot of times we make assumptions that once we call ourselves Christian or even have a belief in God, that things can just sort of start taking care of themselves. And so what we're really going to be talking about is a whole lot like what we would be talking about if you were trying to get your body in shape. You have disciplines in the gym, and you have different things that you have to commit to doing, or you will lose your conditioning. And so just like we have to have a discipline level in the gym to take care of our body, the temple, we have to have it also to take care of just everything that's important. And in today's talk, we're really going to be talking about how do I become more aware and then disciplined in my spiritual walk, okay? But hon, I think this goes across the board. I mean, this discipline thing is so challenging for all of us because we're just wrapped in a world of comfort, at least in our culture today. And the idea that I have to be disciplined in my marriage, I have to be disciplined at work, I have to be disciplined in my parenting, I have to be disciplined with my body. And if you don't, that's okay if you want to deal with the consequence, because there's going to be consequences. And I think that's what we're going to get into today.
Yeah, and so, that leads me, hon, to we did a marriage workshop this past weekend, and we just had an amazing time. And talk about discipline, hon, for so many couples to commit a whole day I mean, it was a long day for them, I'm sure, but the fact that they were willing to work on their relationship with each other and with the Lord, like that's discipline.
Right.
And we're going to be talking about how can we as an individual grow closer to the Lord. And we're going to give you some practical steps. And I think that it'll really be a help to a lot of people out there.
Can I boil this down a little bit? You know, you've mentioned many times on the show that I'm a personal trainer. And over the years, I've been doing training for so long. It's been such a part of my life for so many years. And there's always something new and fancy out there, right? Whether it's a new piece of equipment or a new approach. And really what guys who've been in the business a long time finally really come down to is you do whatever works for you.
True.
Okay? And some of this, like we're going to get into some different things, but at the end of the day, you just have to be aware of what do I need to do, okay? And it's not about like, you know, all of us have to do this in order to have a relationship. So I just like to say that because I think sometimes we try to overcomplicate these things and we don't have to.
And you have to find out what works and then do what works for you. And so we're going to talk about that in today's show. But before we do go any deeper, we want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Maxwell Construction, Hummel Insurance Group, and Casey's Outdoor Solutions for their support of Rock Solid Radio, Rock Solid Families, and these messages that we're trying to get out to our community. So thank you for those that are sponsoring us. And please, if you are listening, make sure you let them know how much you appreciate this positive programming.
Well, Hun, you were talking before about our Secure the Knot little workshop that we did this past week. But I think we really need to say a bigger endeavor that we're getting ready to offer, okay?
Yeah.
And so we've been mentioning it here recently on shows, and we are going to continue to drive this because this is a whole different level of not just discipline, but what you're going to get from it. The one-day things are great. They're good like checkups almost. They kind of refresh you. It's kind of like let's get a fresh start. But we're getting ready to launch Rock Solid Marriages, and we're still talking about it as the pilot program. And so we're still looking this week as you hear this. If you're interested in Rock Solid Marriages, we want you to contact us. Rock Solid Marriages is a 7-step program that is designed very much on the premise of like if you were to build a house, how do you start? And you know everything from the foundation to then getting the mechanicals, the roof, all of these different things. And there is a sequence that has to happen in order for that home to be built well. And so that's going to be a whole lot. We're going to start very basic. All right, and we're going to just keep on driving through those steps. So it's about 7 steps. It's about 10 to 12 weeks is what we're estimating, right?
Yeah, for sure. And so if you're interested in learning more, we actually did a whole podcast just last week specifically on introducing Rock Solid Marriages. So we encourage you to go back to last week's show and to check that out.
Right.
Or we would love for you to message us, call us at our office at 812-576-ROCK, 812-576-7625, and set up on a time. We'll just have a short Zoom call, get to know you. We're interviewing couples because we want to make sure it's the right fit for you and the right fit for our pilot program. And so we would love for you to come along. And if you're listening to this show a lot later, because we know people go back in our archives, like you said, we have 4 years worth of shows.
Yep.
So over 200 shows. Then please contact us because that probably means it's launched and it's available to you down the road. And so we would love for you to be a part of that ongoing.
The cool thing about that, Hun, is once we launch it, people will be able to come in and out whenever they want. It won't be like, okay, you know, June 1st is the start date.
Rolling
so
start,
so you can come in, people go in and out when they're finished and beginning and all those things. So it'll be very available.
Yeah, and it's going to be available to anyone around the country, around the world, because it can be all Zoom. If you live locally in the greater Cincinnati area, you could come in for your private sessions, but it can be done all online. And so that's what we see as the future of how to exponentially reach more couples. And so we're excited about that. But honey, I think that we need to kind of mention the elephant in the room here because...
Well, I wonder if anybody's noticed the elephant in the room.
Well, hang on. A lot of people listen to us in podcasts. So if you're listening, you're not going to see anything different. But if you are watching us on YouTube, then you might have noticed like something's different about our set today.
We screwed up our name.
Well,
So
not
normally
really.
you guys are looking and you're seeing Rock Solid Radio back behind us, and today you see Rock Solid Families. We are recording today up at our office because we're doing a lot of other recording work up here that involves some different sort of things that we're presenting, and it's actually a parenting program we're putting together.
Right,
And so we had all this equipment up here, and
like we're
I
all
was
coming
like, I don't really feel like carrying all that back to the studio and everything. So we're like, let's just go ahead.
Yep.
Let's go live right here. Not
Yeah.
live, but live here.
Yeah, exactly. So, hon, let's get started and let's talk about this week's topics. 12 different ways to grow your relationship closer to God. I mean, why in the world would we want to do that? I mean, I don't understand. Why would we want to get closer to God?
And I think when we were talking about this, I said, if we don't even cover the why, we're going to get people who are, maybe they're very early in their faith, maybe their faith is kind of distant from them. And if we don't cover the why, it's going to be just like a bunch of practices that don't make sense. And so, hon, the why is the most important part. Behind us, you see Rock Solid Families. And it goes back to the premise of the name of the ministry here. And it comes from, again, Matthew 7:24, which we've stated many, many times. But that whole idea that we have to ground how we are going to live in our own life and then how we're going to help other people in God's word, in His way. And so that is the why. Like, if we are trying to help you in a marriage or help you in parenting, and we start shooting our opinion out, or even we start allowing your opinion, and it may contradict God's way, then we're going to have problems. And that's not us saying that. We have all that proof and science to back it up. And so the why is simply God's way is the right way. And that is not like a bigoted or prejudiced thing. We've had a hard time learning that ourselves, okay? so again, this is not like, well, we were born and raised in this, and this is how we are. No, it's like we've had to learn, like, oh my gosh, it is the right way.
But honey, I want you to know, though, there's a lot of people that walk in our doors who really just found Rock Solid Families through Google. Like they searched in internet looking for marriage help or parenting help or counseling or coaching.
Boy, are they surprised when they come in.
But it's really amazing how many people came in so stuck, so feeling so hopeless, full of anxiousness and depression, and they're seeking peace, they're seeking joy, they're seeking hope, and they have no idea how to find it.
Right.
And what they find and discover through Rock Solid Families is it's through God, and it's through God's way, and it's through His Word. And so maybe that's you. Maybe you're listening and you really don't get this Jesus stuff, this God stuff. Stick with us. I think that there's going to be things here that are going to help you understand how to develop a relationship. Maybe you didn't ever see it modeled. Maybe you're searching for something that you can't even put your finger on. We're glad you're here.
I think so often, hon, and I've done this many times myself, I'm always looking for a new technique, a new method. And while techniques and methods and strategies are helpful, those are just tools. I have to know why I'm even going to grab the tool in the first place. All right. And hon, I think you mentioned a great thing, the idea of we have people that come in, maybe with, maybe without any kind of faith background. But by the time they're coming into our office, they are seeking some
hungry.
peace.
Yeah.
They're really, really just, they've been kicked in the gut. And so they have to have something better in their life, or they're not quite sure how they're going to go on. And so that peace, I think it is finally when we attach God and bring God into that relationship, all the tools and the methods, they start to now make sense. Like, oh, this is why I use this tool, okay? So again, be very careful, and I say this to people all the time. I can give you all the tools and the methods. I mean, we can look those up on Google. Okay, I mean that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
But now understanding the why behind it.
So when I was in Bible college, I had known God my whole life. My parents raised me in a Catholic home, a family where we went to church and we talked about God. But I'm telling you, one of the most amazing books I ever had to read in college was a book by Richard J. Foster called The Celebration of Discipline. And it didn't sound like a very fun book, and I was a little worried that I was going to be very dry, but it was powerful, hon, because it really opened my eyes to how do I get an intimate relationship, personal relationship with Christ? How do I find those tools to develop that relationship with God? And so it was eye-opening. It was life-changing, honestly. And so this book has sold millions of copies. It has been around for 40 years now. They've updated it twice. And I really would encourage you to, it's called The Celebration of Discipline, a path to spiritual growth, by Richard Foster. And so, and it was embarrassing, hon, because before I read this book, I really didn't even know what spiritual disciplines were. And basically, they're practices that Jesus modeled in his word to show you how to get close to the Father. He did these. Now, he's the Son of God, but he did these not just to get close to the Father, but to show us how to get close to the Father. And so all of these things we're going to talk about come from God's word.
We didn't hear the phrase spiritual discipline
Right.
so much, and maybe it was out there, but we just weren't tuned into it. But hon, it was in, especially our Catholic faith, but we didn't always understand the why.
Right, exactly.
We didn't
Yeah.
understand the why
Just thought it was something we had to do.
Right, whether it was we're going to fast on Fridays during Lent or whatever, and so those are not bad. Those are part of what we're actually going to be talking about. But now connecting the why. Otherwise, as a kid, it was the only reason why you had to do this is because you didn't want to get in trouble by mom and dad when they found out you
Yeah.
snacked in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
That was your why.
Exactly. And so these are the ways that God uses to transform our lives and to draw us into a saving, intimate relationship with him. These are the things that we saw modeled, like we said, with Jesus. And so I don't know about you, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, how do I grow closer? And when I feel disconnected from God, I look at these things and realize, oh, I haven't been doing these things. So we're going to kind of cover some of those.
Okay, so let's jump into just the idea, hon, and you can help explain a little bit of this, because there's different ways, whether I do something just for me,
Right.
or whether I do something like out in the community, or whether I do
Right.
something in a group. Okay, so what's the difference in those?
So Foster really divides these disciplines, these 12 disciplines, into 3 categories. One of them is inward. In other words, this is their personal kind of growth just for us. Okay, so there's 4 inward disciplines, and then there's 4 outward disciplines that we're doing to help others, that are going to involve other people. Okay, and then the third one is corporate disciplines, which they're meant to do in groups. They're meant to do together.
Right.
And so we're going to be kind of dividing them in that way: the inward, the outward, and then the corporate.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the inward, and I think some of these. Sometimes I think in the Christian faith, we almost kind of snub our nose at some of these. Like the very first one, this meditation.
Yeah.
Okay. Christ actually talks about going in prayer and meditation.
Yep.
Okay. And the idea of what that actually is. Meditation, they're in the Eastern meditation, which sometimes we think of that as the New Age meditation, transcendental. Is that right? Transcendental.
Transcendentalist, yeah.
I think, and it's much more about emptying your mind,
Yeah.
right, and finding that calm spot. And
That's not what we're talking about.
We are talking about calming ourselves. We are talking about getting ourselves calmed down. In other words, allowing our body just to breathe and just to relax. But then it is actually inviting the Spirit in us, and being very conscious about that. Not just being quiet, but inviting the Spirit in and actually asking the Spirit to come in and for Satan to not be permitted there.
Yeah, the reason why we're making this very clear is that the Bible is very clear that if we just empty our mind and we don't fill it with something of Him, that Satan does go in even worse than before. And so Eastern meditation is all about emptying, and it's not what God has called us to do. He's asked us to really fill our mind and our heart with His ways and His word and His Spirit. So be very careful with when you hear people talk about meditation. Okay, we are talking about medication, not medication. Meditation is a medication, but not the emptying New Age Eastern meditation. We're talking about the Christian biblical example that Jesus gave us of meditating. What's the number 2?
So the second part to that really is just the whole idea of prayer. Prayer is where we talk about this all the time. If Linda and I are married and we go for a week and never talk to each other,
What kind of marriage is that?
the relationship's going to start to suffer, right? You're going to become distant to each other. And the longer we go, the more out of sight, out of mind that we get. And before you know it, we're like, oh, well, we don't really even do life together. And so the idea here of prayer is actually being in conversation, which leads to the building of the relationship, okay? So God... Sometimes people go, why do I need to pray? Because God already knows everything. God wants to see you want to be in relationship with him. He does not force us to be in relationship. No. So it's kind of like this idea of, you want your kids to interact with you. You want that connection. And so this is our way of saying, hey, Father, I really need you here.
Yeah. And if we haven't said it already, you might want to get a piece of paper, because there's so many steps that we're talking about, tools that I think are so important. And this next part about prayer, hon, I just want you to write down, because there's a lot of people that say, I don't even know how to pray. I don't even know where to start. And so when I was working as a children's minister, I literally gave 2 different acronyms, depending on their age, to help them know kind of how to pray, okay? And again, there's no special formula. It's literally talking to your best friend. But one of them was pray, P-R-A-Y. Praise, repent, ask, and yield. And so part of that, praising him, thanking him, just
I'm glad you remembered
him.
all those, because I was going to drop the ball on one of those.
Repent was, being sorry for what you've done. Ask is that, talking to God about what you need, okay? Not like I need a new car, okay? And then yield is trusting him for the answers, whether it's yes, no, or maybe. And the other one is acts, A-C-T-S, and that's adoration, again, praising. C is confession, like talking to him and saying sorry for what you've done. T is the thanksgiving. And then the S is a big word. I didn't use it with the little guys. Supplication, which is another word for ask.
Word. Yeah.
But those are 2 acronyms I use all the time just to help people walk through the process of prayer.
Very good stuff. So again, I think sometimes as we have worked with people, because we talk about praying as a couple and that kind of thing, they are so awkward and uncomfortable with it. Yeah. And it's like, guys, all you have to do is talk. Yeah. You just have to say, hey, God, thank you. And
invite him into your relationship.
And it's just very casual. It doesn't have to be scripted. In fact, there's a place for scripted prayer, all right? But it also is, if I do scripted prayer and I'm just reading words and I'm not actually talking, if that's like me reading a book to Linda, okay, and I'm not actually internalizing the words there. So we really are saying, just talk. Yeah. Just talk. Yeah. How about this next one?
Yeah.
I'm going to skip it because I don't really like it. Can I do that? Because I don't want to be disciplined in this.
No, that's probably why you need to do it.
So this next one is fasting. Fasting.
Food is kind of our God sometimes. Yes. I'm not going to lie. It's tough. It's a tough one for us.
Hon, I don't think I would have really understood this until probably the last 10 or 15 years. Like, I always understood fasting, or at least...
Because we did it growing up.
Because we did, or at least I was aware of it.
During
I don't know
Lent,
that I understood with the battle that's going on there. And so this is a reminder to us of the 2 different things that are going on constantly in our life. The 2 desires of the flesh and of the spirit, and how powerful the fleshly desire is, right? And so fasting can actually be doing away with anything that is pleasing to our flesh or that it desires, right? So it could be taking an afternoon nap. Oh, every day I take an afternoon nap, because it feels good. Whatever it is, it could be a variety of different things, but I do it because it pleases my flesh. My flesh desires it, and it becomes so like comfort.
Yeah.
I mean, could we take a fast from comfort?
I thought you were going to say from Duncan.
Yeah.
Because that's been my fast before. By the way, growing up, I would fast because I was supposed to, but I honestly would complain about it the whole time. And I would act like, oh my gosh, my life is so horrible. The Bible says to do it in private, to do it in silent. And so that's something that we want to do and not make it a big show.
Oh, you mean I can't tell everybody, I haven't eaten in 3 hours today. I'm dying.
So we do it in private. What's this next one?
The next one I think is also was foreign to us, and it is the actual seeking to study, to actually dig into God's Word, to dig into the things that will, His Word for sure, but maybe it's a study of some sort, a Bible study, or maybe it's a book study where it's making you think about a concept or an idea where you really want to dig in even deeper.
Yeah.
So, and that purpose of study, hon, is this is a lifelong practice because we talk about the Bible being active and living. And so you and I are both reading through the Bible again this year. And the idea there is, I'm reading things that I've read before, but I'm highlighting different areas of what I'm reading.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people out there, hon, who've never read the Bible through, who don't even know where to begin, and they've been in my office before, and I'll tell them, start with something simple. Get a Bible app that you can get it for free on your phone. The YouVersion app is what we highly recommend, where you can literally start little Bible reading plans. You can search a word like anxiety or depression, and you can come up with things, or hope or truth, and you can really get some help beginning. You and I bought each other a life application Bible that helped us with some almost like cliff notes to kind of understand what we were reading.
Commentaries, right?
Yeah,
so you're reading things and you don't quite get either the history or the language, and so to have a little biblical commentary, you can go, okay, like that makes sense. And I want to throw another plug in for an app that I found very helpful, and that is Through the Word.
Yeah, free app.
Yeah, it's a free app, and Through the Word does a great job also of, there's lots of different studies in there, but you can do the Bible in a year, or you can do Old Testament or New Testament, or all kinds, but Through the Word, and they give their own commentary.
Yeah. You can listen instead of read. Yeah.
Right, which is, the commentary is helpful, especially when you're brand new and you're like, I just don't know if I get this stuff.
Yeah. So please, my last point about the study thing is do not be afraid to ask. Ask for help. Ask questions. There are so many people out there who would be willing to walk alongside you. They would love to walk alongside you. But you and I, hon, we're teachers. And I personally, I'll just admit, I was embarrassed to say I didn't know the Bible and I have no idea where to begin. And once I humbled myself and said, hey guys, can you help me? Because I don't know where to begin. People just loved on me and helped me and really helped me grow.
Yeah. And let's move into some of the outwards.
Yeah.
Right?
We're going to run these pretty
quicker. One of the outwards and this is like just what you're doing outside of your personal life, and that is simplicity.
Yeah.
Think about, we're so guilty.
Yeah.
We are so guilty in this.
We're a nation of overindulgence.
Well, and us personally.
In excess, absolutely.
We just started the show today whining and complaining about how overtaxed we are because I've got project after project going, okay? And the simple answer, which, you can call us out on it, this is that thing we have to be reminded of. You can say no. You should say no, especially when the next thing you know, Linda and I are in an argument or something because we're just all frazzled about stuff. And so those are the things, sometimes you just have to step back and go, keep it simple.
Yeah,
just keep it simple.
The second one is solitude, and that is spending time alone, getting away from the crowd so that you can be refueled and re-energized.
I like that one.
You do. And Jesus did this a lot. He modeled this for us all the time. Before he would go into the crowd or the city, he would come and go away and be with the Father alone. So solitude is one of those things that energize us to be with others.
The next one, do I have to read this one too?
Yes, you do.
Okay, this next one, submission. Right?
Mutual submission.
Yeah, that submission, that idea, and I think it goes even to a different thing that I think we have to, it's actually connected very well to another area, and that's humility.
Yeah.
Practicing humility, that idea that
God is God and
God
you're
is
not.
God and you're not, and that's okay. It's okay, and we have really grown into a very insecure world, insecure individuals, and we always have to be right. And if I can't be right, I'm going to fight or win in some way to show you that I'm right. And in the meantime, I start to get pretty arrogant.
Yeah.
And so that submission, first and foremost, submitting to God. But hon, I think it's even a good practice to submit to one another.
Absolutely.
In our marriage, especially recognizing. We've talked about this before, the idea that sometimes we don't give people credit for what they're good at. And it's really awesome when you finally, I think as adults, you start to realize, man, everybody's got something.
Yeah, yeah.
And you realize, like, that mechanic over there, dude, tell me what you do, because
Yeah, yeah.
you can do that better than I can ever do it.
And Ephesians 5 talks all about the submission to one another out of reverence for Christ, especially in our marriage. And so that's important, not just to our marriage, but other people. The last one is my love language. And so I feel like I do this, but sometimes I don't submit and humble myself. And that's service, doing for others, not because you have to, but because you want to. Christ didn't come to be served, but to serve. And that's what he's called us to do. And so he modeled that from day one. And that's what he's asked us to do with others.
All right, let's move into the corporate disciplines, okay?
These are the things we do together.
We do together. And this first one, how come I keep getting the hard ones? This first one, guys, this is hard, okay? Confession. Now, if you're Catholic or you have a practice in Catholicism, that word is talked about a lot more as part of the faith, and that practice is confession through the priest. But confession, it's listed as a corporate thing here because we are called to confess to all of those that we may have rightfully or wrongfully, whatever, that we have basically offended, we have hurt, we have sinned against, okay? And confession is important because it's the start of that ownership. Admitting, raising your hand and saying,
I did it.
I got to own that.
Yeah.
I messed up. And that goes back to that humility that we talked about just a second ago. So learning how to confess to others that are out there.
On a regular basis. This isn't just a one-time thing. This is an ongoing practice. It's almost like a cleansing, hon. If we are sinful and if we're self-righteous and we're selfish and we just let that build up, it doesn't do well for our insides. And with our relationship to Christ, it's like a barrier between us and Christ. And so this confession is good for the soul, and it's good for relationships, and it's good for our intimacy with Christ. What's the other one?
So the next one I think is a lot more understood by a lot of people, and it is the outward worship, actually coming together with the group at church or in a group body where you're actually worshiping and praising God together. I think there's power in that because all of us are reminded as a group of God is priority. He is the author of life. And so worship and giving him praise.
Yeah, but I think it's misunderstood one because they think it's done on a Sunday in a building, and worship is all week long. It's how we treat people on the freeway that cut us off. It's how we treat the grocery clerk when she's grouchy
You
at
had
us.
to bring it up, didn't you?
It's how we treat our spouse when they've done something over and over again. That's our worship. That's a daily thing. And again, that's where we kind of get this misunderstanding is that it only happens, and if it snows, then I don't have to worship that week. No, we worship all the time, whether we're in a church building or whether it's a Sunday or not.
I think a little subcategory that I'd like to at least add to that is the idea, one way that I can worship is constantly be giving thanks to God for the gifts or talents or experiences that he puts out in front of me. So whether we do something that, we feel like we did it or we get to celebrate the success of it, to be able to give that glory to God, that is like, hey, we want us to remember and him to know that we are thanking him.
That's actually another discipline, celebration. And the attitude of gratitude. So the Thanksgiving.
As a group, though, I got you.
So it's that recognizing where it comes from, the celebrating, the rejoicing.
Yeah, that's when I've scored the touchdown.
But not just in scoring the touchdown, but in our daily lives to recognize and to fix our eyes on what God has already done in our lives and to celebrate that. But one we skipped in between that is the whole discipline of guidance. That we are not called to do this life on our own, that we need one another. And so whether it be a mentor, a priest, a pastor, a teacher, a parent, a coach, a counselor, we're called to be in community with one another where we are being kind of guided in our walk with Christ. That's why we need one another.
So you added one.
Well,
you added one.
I didn't.
All right.
I mean,
who do you think you are?
I don't mean to like add a discipline because I said there was 12 steps, but I'm saying this kind of is an underarching theme of a lot of them, and that is this whole idea of community. And that we're, again, going back to what I just said, we are not called to live in isolation. We are called to live in community, and that a communion that a lot of Christians do weekly.
Right.
We practice this as an idea of community. He's asked us to be in relationship with one another as well as in relationship with
Seeing
him.
the importance of it, taking
Yes.
care of it,
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah.
But can I do community with solitude? I like both of those,
You know, hon, as we kind of wrap up these disciplines, do you know what the number one destroyer, the enemy of these disciplines is, and especially today?
Today, like right as of specifically today.
It can be like in today's
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, because I cheated and I already read ahead, it is distractions.
Yeah.
It is distractions. And distractions, we know that Satan loves when we are distracted. He loves when we are so busy with so many things that, especially us guys, we become out of sight, out of mind very quickly. Hey, I got so many different things to do, and we're not very good at balancing a lot of different things at one time. And so what we do, we want to do well. So we lock in on that, and we start to sacrifice other things at the table.
Yeah.
So yes, distractions are huge.
You know, and even discouragement, it's kind of can be a distraction where we literally take our eyes off the prize. You know, I was thinking we were just sharing Philippians chapter 3 at our workshop this past weekend, and where we talked about, you know, forgetting what's behind us and plowing ahead, you know, that I haven't obtained all this. I mean, we've just listed 12 different ways where you can grow closer to Christ. And this is not to make you feel bad that, oh gosh, I haven't been doing any of these.
Right.
It's to say, hey, you can start today by fixing your eyes on what is ahead, that the goal to win is heaven. Okay, it's not checking off the list. It's not bragging to other people and comparing yourselves to people. It's how can I grow closer to Christ? And we can start that today. So we have a challenge for you as we kind of close up. Let's wrap up with, hun, what we would love for them to do today.
All right, so first off, the awareness of it, right? And to make it a priority. But starting today, we're going to start making time for God, all right? And so we talk about this in other shows. Throw it on your calendar.
Yep.
You've got to put it on the calendar. And so we're asking, just start. Start with a 15-minute deal, okay?
Yeah.
Start with the 15 minutes, whether it's you wake up 15 minutes earlier, or maybe you normally are reading something on the internet for 15 minutes in the morning or whatever. Instead, replace it out, okay?
Yeah. So we're asking you, like Merrill said, let's put something on our phone, a little pop-up reminder that's going to happen at every 7 a.m. every day. And start tomorrow or today, depending on what time you're listening to this, and just give yourself 15 minutes. Just unplug. Okay, here's the danger with the YouVersion app, is that it pops on my phone, and with that comes about a half a dozen other notifications that come up. So I'm just going to encourage you to really start by just unplugging, and let's go the simplicity route, right? And let's just talk to God and allow him to work, and then maybe add the Bible, then maybe add some prayer, then just really allow these disciplines to start becoming more and more of a habit and a practice in your life.
If you have a difficult time with some of this, all right, or maybe you
Welcome
start,
to the crowd.
you start and then you fall off the wagon, okay? Remember how at the beginning I kind of compared it to exercise. Even if you fall off the wagon of exercise, or even if you can't go to the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week and hit your cardio and hit your strength and hit your functional movement and hit your stretching, which are all of these areas.
You sound like such a personal trainer.
Well, you know, but it's so hard to get all those areas and get them perfectly all the time. That's not the point, okay? God understands that you are balancing life with all of these things. These are things that aren't helping him. They're things to help you, okay? They're helping you and your family. So the idea there is just that awareness, like, this is so important. I do want to do well at this.
Yeah, but you know, God is a jealous God. And he also knows your heart. So he can't be mocked and he can't be fooled. So if you're saying, oh God, I really want to, oh, I'm really trying, God, but it's just words, you know, he is looking at the desires of your heart. He is looking inward at your heart. Hun, I love this as we wrap up this verse out of Romans 12, because all of these disciplines are practical ways to grow closer to God and his Son. They are helping us really live out Romans 12, 1 and 2. And we'll leave you with these words from the Apostle Paul. It says, "Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." You want to grow closer to God? Then do the things that Jesus modeled for us. Do the things taught in his word, not worm. Do not conform to what the world tells you. It's dark, it's ugly. It's not going to get you to that intimacy, that peace, that joy that you've been looking for. Do what Jesus has shown us, and you will find something that you've never experienced before.
Great job, hon. I know this is something that you have studied and talked about before, and I know I will give you a lot of credit. You are very aware and conscious of doing these things. If I have extra minutes in my day, Linda will admit to me that, oh, you're going to go work out, right? That's what I do with my time. And Linda, and if she has extra minutes, she will pick up something to read or something in the line of the spiritual disciplines. And so for that reason, I do think that it is a good thing. It's a great thing. Yeah. And this is not a comparison battle, guys. Everyone's on their own walk. We are all gifted in our own ways and our certain things. And so the last thing we'd want to do is say, you need to be more like me.
Yeah.
No, that's not at all what we're talking about. You need to be the best version of yourself in God's eyes. And so that's where the practices come in. So we hope that this was helpful. If nothing else, a reminder of how we can get back in touch with the things that are most important.
Yeah.
So we'd like to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions, Maxwell Construction, and the Hummel Insurance Group for, again, coming alongside of Rock Solid Radio and Rock Solid Families, as you can see back here. For those guys just coming alongside of us and helping us out. Also, guys, do us a favor. We have seen a lot of just growth here as we've started 2022 already with a lot of couple work. We find ourselves doing a lot of marriage work, and that's fine with us. But just keep supporting us and help other couples. This is such a foundation stone to our culture, to society, that we've got to have strong families. So do us a favor, spread our shows, share them, especially with somebody you might know that is struggling in a particular area. Share those. Also, guys, we're just flat out asking, give us 5-star ratings. Those are the things that help get it up on the search engines, so that Rock Solid Radio and Strong Dads are things that more and more people start to hear those messages. All right. Straight up, this is not about us with money. We don't get paid for these shows. All right. The idea there is the message.
Yeah, we're here to serve God. We're here to worship him through our words, our actions, and our attitude. And we want you to be doing the same thing. That's how we create a better world and community. So thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for supporting Rock Solid Families and Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day.
Are you going to make me go back to the project again?
We got more work to do.
Oh, jeez. Well, I want Solitude. Where's the other one? I want Solitude. I want Peace. I want... All right. Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Hummel Insurance Group for sponsoring today's show. Hummel Insurance Group now owns and operates 7 different offices located throughout the tri-state area. For over 50 years now, the Hummel Insurance Group has been assisting customers with insurance needs and questions. For all your insurance needs, contact Hummel Insurance Group at 812-537-1785. Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana.